Aaron Whitlow.
Brandon Spivey.
We are the Markout Movie Podcasters. Let me. Jeez, that was fun. Let's start with the intro. Here we go. See if this works. Did that do anything?
It did something, yes. It did the intro.
All right, but you still see me?
Yeah.
All right, good. I couldn't hear that. By the way, I couldn't hear the intro. I didn't hear anything. It's fine. But on today's episode, we are going to be discussing in the heat of man, this was an event, not the movie, but just getting set up for the podcast today. That was fun. I had issues. I have issues, Brandon.
I'm aware. I am aware.
But did you watch anything before we get to the movie? Anything you want to mention that you watched at all?
Yeah, so it's not a new movie I've seen, but it was new for me. McFarland USA, which is a Kevin Costner sports film. I thought this was pretty darn good, which I've never seen a Kevin Costner film that dealt with sports that wasn't good. So he plays a football coach that gets fired for throwing some cleats at his star player, and he has to move and take on a job of an assistant coach, but kind of gets let go of that too because him and the coach butt heads. So he ends up teaching, coaching like cross country, running with these Latinos, and he learns a lot about them. They learn a lot about him. He actually helps him in the fields because he's trying to get one boy to come with him, and so he's like, I want to do what you do. Your dad needs you. I'm going to help. So I just thought it was a really heartwarming story. It's based on a true story as well. I don't know. It's on Disney Plus, or it should be.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the lights?
Trying to see if I can brighten my face, but I guess it's not happening.
Aaron, you don't need to be brightened.
Yeah.
Lord.
That sounds interesting. So I watched. I went to the theater last weekend. Maybe I think it was, and I saw Missing, which is the sequel to Searching. I thought it was fun. On Letterboxd, I gave it 5 stars. I had fun the whole time through with the movie. Just kept me engaged. Kept me guessing, and it was good, man. The young actress in it, she got to be engaging to keep you interested, and the most definitely is. She reminds me of a young Zendaya, but it's funny because she plays Zendaya's sister in Euphoria. So I guess that's why she reminds me of a young Zendaya. She channeled her co-star. But yeah, it's really interesting movie. I tried to beg Brandon to see Searching, but he said it's not on his radar. Ain't gonna happen. He'll probably watch Missing if it ever streams.
I might see it Monday. I'm going to theaters to watch that new horror film, Infinity Pool, with Mia Goth. So I might go ahead and watch it as well.
We got comments. Bengals wins 45-0. Follow-up comment on Sunday.
I got it going 31-28. But yeah, 45-0 would be very embarrassing. But
you still got the Bengals winning though.
Yeah. I'm confident that they're going to win.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what we watched. Let's see. Don't watch you people really dumb. Okay. Yeah, it's that.
Gotta watch it. It's Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
I got you.
One of those things. Well, I had it queued up. I queued it up here. So we are getting ready to discuss In the Heat of the Night. Let's see. Give me a moment, just to kind of get your motors going. Let's see. Here we go. There's a little bit of this action. In the so,
Wow.
all right. So we're discussing In the Heat of the Night. Hey, I'm trying to go all out, Brand. I'm trying to bring our brand up a little bit. Oh, another thing I watched. I meant to mention this. I'm sorry. But what we watched. I watched The Last of Us, episode 1 and 2. I don't know the source material. I've never played the games, but I absolutely had fun with the show so far. And I thought it's amazing, and I enjoy that. But I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, In the Heat of the Night. Let's see. 1967 stars Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger. And then, as Brandon alluded to in a text message, a very young Herschel.
Yes, very young Herschel. Like, I was like, wow, man, that guy was around forever. Man, I just, as soon as I saw him pop up, I was like, man, it's Herschel Green from Walking Dead. Oh, young Herschel. But yeah, it was. I had never seen this before, and I love the show. And one thing I will say, as far as the movie and the show, it looked like Sparta stayed the same, like in the movie and the show. They did a really good job of continuing what Sparta looked like in the movie. So I'll give them props for that.
So the show carried that over, like the film. Now you asked me before we started watching. You asked me if a character was in it. Was he? I've never seen the show. Okay, was that a character?
No, the only characters in the movie that continue on in the show is Gillespie and Tibbs.
Never seen. I don't know what Pathwan is, but that's cool.
I'm sure it's a foreign film. That's what he watches constantly.
It sounds like it's not. But yeah.
He said worldwide, though. He didn't say domestically. He said worldwide. So I'm pretty sure it's a foreign film.
But yeah, I want a couple of things about this film. It came out in '67. It was shot in '66. It came out like a year before Dr. King was assassinated. Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte, they refused. Well, Sidney Poitier refused to have it shot in Mississippi due to he feared for his life, and he had a reason for it. Last time he was in Mississippi, the Ku Klux Klan tried to kill him and Harry Belafonte. They was trying to register blacks to vote, and the Klan threatened him and try to kill him. And so he's like, yeah, let's not shoot in the South. But they had to shoot one scene in the South, and it was when they went to the plantation. They shot that in Tennessee, and they was only there for a couple of days. And he slept with a gun under his pillow for protection because it's the South. But yeah, I got to say something, Brandon.
Go ahead.
Rod Steiger. You know what? I've always paid attention more to Sidney's portrayal, Sidney's work in it. But I tell you, man, Rod was captivating the whole way through. He had some of the best lines in the movie, man.
Oh no, I know. I picked up on that right at the get go.
Was it the $150-something or whatever, and 32 cents a week?
Yeah.
I thought about you. I thought about you delivering that line that way, actually.
I wasn't nowhere near that good. Not even close.
But the way
thank you.
I got Brandon vibes. Like if somebody says Brandon.
I played a racist once. And I took motivation from my uncle. because of all the stuff he would talk about. And I was like, and she was like, I really hired a racist. It's like, I was like, eh. I regret ever auditioning for that role though. It was a racist plus a rapist, and
Did you
I got fired from that movie
because they thought you was racist and a rapist?
No, I got lost. After we shot a scene, we were supposed to go somewhere else, and I got lost in Nashville. So they fired me.
Oh,
because I cost them. Well, that didn't cost them money, but I cost them time. And that's something you can't do. But I'm glad I got fired. I wouldn't have wanted my name on that.
You don't want to be like then because people associate you with that racist.
And a rapist.
And a rapist. That's a rapist.
A double whammy.
A rape racist.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Rod, what was your thoughts on so you seeing the show now for the first time seeing the film? What was your thoughts on Rod's portrayal of Gillespie and then also Carol O'Connor's portrayal of Gillespie?
Oh, they were very similar, especially in the early seasons. I felt Carol O'Connor toned it down at around season 3 to become more likable, come off less of a racist because he kind of is a racist in the early seasons. So I thought they both did a really good job. I guess I like Carol's performance better because I'm used to it because I watched it as a kid. I just finished it a few months ago as an adult, so it's nostalgic for me rather than this movie. But I will say, as far as Tibbs, though, Sidney, hands down, he played it better. I don't remember the actor's name. His last name's Howard, I believe, on this TV show. He didn't play with the passion that Sidney did, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think Sidney was excellent. So here is one day. Let's not show that scene first, but I try to get some pictures of some things. Obviously, one of the first things I noticed watching this movie this time around that I didn't notice the first time around is spoilers, by the way, for In the Heat of the Night that came out in 1966 or 67. If you haven't seen it, then yeah, we're spoiling it for you. But one of the things I didn't notice, man, now I noticed is that let me see if I can find him. This guy in the very first opening of the movie, the first person we see is the killer, and I had no idea. It never dawned on me.
You didn't think he'd be the killer?
Yeah, like I didn't think
when this movie first started, I said after meeting him, getting him talking to Sam, I was like, that guy's gonna end up being the killer.
Oh, you all
yeah, I got that vibe. I was like, he's gonna end up being the killer. Of course, the movie was going on and on. I thought I was gonna be wrong, but ultimately I was right. I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty good at these murder mysteries in films. Like even with Knives Out, I got that. I thought that was more predictable than the sequel. But
they call them police, not situationals, but I forget the term. There's a term for it where it's procedurals, procedurals, where they are trying to find out who killed something. Now, watching this film, did you get the vibe that I told you I got in Reacher? Like, did you feel that kind of influence on Reacher from this film? In a sense of an outsider is suspected of murdering someone, but he actually is a
I guess. Yeah, I do see a lot of similarities with Tibbs and the. I knew the killer Knives Out and Glass Onion in the first 25 minutes. Yeah, I felt they were predictable, but at the same time, I think they're very entertaining films. So if the film can be entertaining, I don't mind knowing. If it
didn't take away anything for you.
No, not for me. He may have for Bilfer here, but not for me. I like the sequel better, I think, than Knives Out. I think the cast overall did a better job working together.
But yeah, what so? But yeah, you said so. You pretty much knew that the guy at the restaurant was the killer. So I never got the vibe. I guess I didn't. I didn't think of it that way.
It's just
Um,
the way he kind of carried himself. Like I don't know, but when you're in the well, not in the cruiser, but when Sam's going past that woman's house and stops and she's naked in the kitchen drinking, I don't know if what it was,
it's,
Dr.
a,
Pepper,
it looks
Pepsi,
like a Coke, a Coca
Coke,
Cola.
something, and I was like, what kind of woman is naked drinking a soda uh while visibly seeing this cop watch her, and she continues to walk closer, like, get a good look, fella.
Yeah,
I just
one that likes to be seen, I guess.
or one that craves attention, that isn't getting it from somewhere else. And I
Yeah.
don't know. I just thought it was a very interesting scene.
You know what? It didn't dawn on me is that she probably got that same soda from the deli, from the diner, like
Yeah.
because the first time you see Sam, he was actually drinking a Coke as well. I think, um, um, and I think so. I think that's what he was. But and the guy was hiding the pie from him. But um, yeah, man, I thought that. First of all, I thought the way that the movie is shot was beautiful. This cinematographer's first color film from black and white. It's his first color feature, and this movie Wexler wanted to make sure that he properly lit Sidney Poitier because Hollywood had a history of poorly lighting black skin, and so he wanted to make sure that Sidney's skin was properly lit, and so I think he did a good job, man. Because when we first see Sidney, like the first 5 minutes, I think first 5 minutes, we don't meet Sidney. We're with Sam on his patrol, his route, and his normal route past the house and everything, and finally he comes across the body, and that's when I guess they sent him. Is it Sam that they sent out to find look around for people that's not supposed to be in town or something? Or
Well, I don't know if they sent him out, but he does go to the train station and he finds Tibbs, and just because, I mean, it's a racist town, so you see a black dude there, you just, oh, he had to be the killer. He's black.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
sad because that is how people thought back then.
yeah.
Which is
And he told
sad,
him
but
to get up. He said, "Get up, get up." He called him a boy, which is a derogatory term towards black men. To call a black man a black boy, or anything of the equivalent. But yeah,
I've never have understood that.
Yeah, it's just the demeaning term towards us that say we're not men, we're just boys. Essentially, we're less than manly. But yeah, there's the scene where when he first sees Tibbs, and the way that he looks at the guy, like without saying a word, he looks at him like, I can't believe that this is happening. Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
But man, uh, honestly, Rod Steiger steals every scene he's in. The guy, he was really good, man. He won the Academy Award for best lead in this film. Now,
Did he?
Sydney was he wasn't even he was snubbed. He didn't
Was
get
it? I thought Sydney won.
Sydney did.
I always thought that.
He won for Lilies of the Field, which was a couple of years prior to this. And he won Best Supporting Actor even then. The first black man to win a Best Actor Oscar is Denzel Washington, who was a student essentially of Sidney Poitier. So you can kind of see where
I can see that.
Kind of gets that vibe from, But yeah, man. But Sydney was, and I was surprised just looking at the awards for it, and I was like, man, Sydney wasn't even nominated. like, like Sydney did an excellent job, man. Like he does. A lot of his acting was more of a visual thing, of the way he looks at them and the way he just held the room and held the scene. But man, but I give it to Rod. Rod did an excellent job as well.
Yeah, yeah, he was great. It was, oh man, it's just in a way, it's when you look at Carol Connor in the first few seasons, you look at Rod and this, man, they look so similar. They really do. They did a really good job of casting Carol Connor to play him in the show. I was like,
now in the show, where does it pick up from past this film?
I want to say it's like 10 years later.
Because it takes place in the 80s. It does take place in the 80s.
It does take place in the 80s.
Okay.
But maybe it's 20 years later, but I don't think it would be that far. But I don't know. But I just know it's a whole new crew at Sparta Police Department. Only Gillespie is there. It's a whole new crew.
You know what? And the thing about this movie, it feels hot. You know, like the heat of the night. It feels like a hot summer night in Mississippi.
Yeah.
I love the. I'm trying to find. I got some scenes that I wanted to show you. So they think that he was a killer. He tells them he makes how much did he make a month a week?
100, what was it, 180 or was it 60 something?
162.32, something like that. And then because like he said, man, that's more I make in my whole month. You know, hey, where you make that money like that, boy? And he said, at my job. Where's this job? In Philadelphia, Mississippi, Pennsylvania. What are you doing in that little Pennsylvania? I am a police officer. And he's not only a police officer, he's a homicide inspector, which is before they, I guess, called detectives. They were called inspectors. But yeah, man. And I thought that he was really good at being a detective. Essentially, like he's no reacher, but he's good.
Yeah, I mean, he can tell by just looking at arms, you know, if they committed a murder or not. So, I mean, I thought that was pretty interesting fact, but I don't know. Like he's good. He's an intelligent detective, you know, and they're just like a bunch of dumb hillbillies.
Yeah.
No offense, but that they were just a bunch of dumb hillbillies.
Yeah, they were, man. And he like a couple of scenes that I thought that was very it's something that never happened in cinema at that point.
Yeah.
Before the slap. There's other stuff.
I love the slap.
We're gonna talk about the slap. But the scene where he's this scene here where he's examining the body. To see a black man touching a white man's hands or arms, you know, was like in itself controversial. And same with when he was in, like looking over Herschel. I'm gonna call him Herschel. When he's looking over Herschel and feeling his arms and feeling that he's a lefty, you know, and because I guess that arm felt stronger than the other arm. It felt like his more dominant arm. Man, I thought that was really, really cool. I'm glad that you pointed out to me that was Herschel, because then I seen it and I never couldn't stop seeing that's Herschel. And so, and I want to ask you about that. Do you feel like he kind of built a rapport with him at one point in the movie?
Yeah, I do.
Like this scene here when he says, "Hey man, could you give me a cheeseburger?" He said, "With onions." He said, "Yeah, now you're talking." I loved it, man. I loved it. I loved that. Yeah, man. It's crazy how he. It's crazy how this one officer influenced other people within that, like that police station to make them change their minds about certain things. Not saying
Mm-hmm.
that they were all the way not racist anymore or whatever, but they started thinking like, oh, Virgil thinks, that he's not guilty. Especially when it came to like Sam. Virgil says, I don't think that he did. I think he's innocent. It's
Yeah,
funny because Sam at one point was wanting to, was like Sam was coming at him. Uh,
yeah. Well, to your point about them not thinking they're racist, here's how I viewed it on the show, and here's how I viewed it in this movie. I don't think any of them thought they were actual racist in the police department. It's just it's it's how Mississippi was. It's how they grew up. It's not they hated black men or anything. It's just how it was. But when you have someone like Tibbs come into your life and set you straight, you you either do two things. You either continue down the path you're going, or you open your eyes a little bit and you see it in a different light. And I think majority of them saw it in a different light, especially Gillespie. He saw it in a different light. But
yeah, yeah. I think that Gillespie, like he at one point seemed like he just wanted to save his hide. He's a brand newly appointed uh, sheriff or captain. Was he captain or sheriff?
he's chief of police.
Chief.
Yeah,
And no respect. He asked people to fix certain things and they'll fix it. That was really funny when he told Sam he's supposed to oil that AC, and
yeah,
then Sam comes in and he said, "Not now," with with a little oil can, and then like he's the one that's trying to fix the swinging door, and he I told you to do it. He said, "No, it must be my brother Harold." You
yeah.
know, just those little, like, everybody in this movie has personality. Nobody's just like one dimensional
No, 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 no.
personality,
They all
and
have
you want to
personality.
live there. And I guess that's why they created the show, because you want to see more of these people.
Yeah, yeah. The guy that told him he was my brother Harold, he reminded me of Parker Williams from the show. So I was like, that's probably who they patterned Parker off of. I love Parker. They never trusted him with anything, but he was funny in the show.
Another scene that was controversial. So, the widow of the man was in the office, and Virgil goes in and tells her that her husband has been murdered, and she cries, and he consoles her. So this black
Yeah.
man is behind closed door consoling a white woman. You know how big that is. Um,
Tell us, Aaron, how big was that?
it's really big, honestly. Like at this time, the only film that you could see a black man interacting with a white woman like that, white people like that, was actually George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. I
Which
think his
came
name
out
is
a year, wasn't
a
it
year.
in '68?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think you're right. Night.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
thinking so.
um.
Not familiar with the years on the Dead trilogy, but
Yeah, and we all, in my opinion, Don is the best. But yeah, it came out in '68, so it was shot in '67. This was shot in '66 and came out in
seven.
'67. So, but uh, but with that being said, Night of the Living Dead is still known with having Dwayne Jones as the lead. He was the lead in there. Sidney wasn't actually the lead in this movie. Rod is considered the lead, not Sidney. Uh, which is crazy to think of it that way, because we spend so much time with Sidney Poitier. But not taking anything away from Rod either. But it's just the way it was then.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, but I kind of want to get to the slap because
You want
it's
to
just
hear him. You
it literally made
you
me
want to get
laugh
there.
so hard.
All right. So
We're,
they
we're
go to. Go ahead and
what
set up
now?
the scene. I said, go ahead and set up the scene for the people.
Well, he's admiring the flowers. Tibbs is he likes the flowers, and this guy, I don't remember his name, just this white racist dude,
Uh,
just showing him all these flowers, all these plants and stuff, and I guess he was offended by something Tibbs said. I don't remember how it happened. I just remember him slapping Tibbs, and Tibbs comes right back and slaps him right back. It was just hilarious. It was
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
And he
So
looks at Gillespie like, "You ain't gonna do nothing." He said, "At one point in time, man, I could have had you shot." I said, "The world's changing, buddy."
yeah. Yeah. So the guy that he slapped, his name was Ed something. I forget his name. Trying to find it. Endicott, Mr. Endicott. What Tibbs said is, he said essentially, you you're the person that's most likely to not mourn his loss, mourn his passing, because
Oh yeah,
you have more to gain from his death. So
yeah.
we just want to know where were you on the night of his murder? Do you have anybody that can talk? And while he's just talking, he backhands Sydney. Now in the scene, there's a black man, an older black man that's like a servant to Mr. Endicott. He's a servant to him, and so when he slaps Sydney, he kind of like is in shock. But then he couldn't even process it because Sydney slaps him back. That wasn't in the original. There wasn't in the original screenplay. Oh no, there wasn't in the original book, and I think Sydney asked him to put it in the screenplay. And part of his rule was it has to make it in the final cut, in all final cuts, and it cannot be taken out, no matter where it's shown. And so, Sydney slapping him back was like, hey man, that was pretty powerful, bro.
It was powerful, and I would, I'm not too big on '60s cinema. I've seen a few films in the '60s, but I could only imagine the people in the cinemas, especially the black community, seeing this scene play out. And I just imagine the faces, the gasp. But I was like, and he got away with it.
Yeah.
The chief of police did nothing. Kind of had a smirk on his face. Well, you had it coming, man. you know. But also that was a changing of the guard with Gillespie too, because at the beginning he would have definitely arrested him or shot him, or if it had happened when he first met him. But now I think he was changing his opinion on Tibbs and maybe black people in general. I don't know, but definitely Tibbs though.
Even the mayor said there used to be a time when we would have the last sheriff would have shot him and claimed self-defense.
Yeah.
Shot him on the spot and claimed self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your girl you talked about, that lady.
Yeah.
That was but yeah, man, the show was like, oh man, that lady. Speaking of that lady, so there she is again. So we find out she's 16. This is her older brother, and he also felt that the chief was wrong for letting her talk the way she talked in front of Mr. Tibbs, for Virgil Tibbs. He says, he's like, "Why? How dare you do that?" But they essentially set up Sam. They set Sam up to pretty much take the fall for the murder. So it was her and the guy from the diner, right? So that was her boyfriend. Is that what you said? But also, she's the same girl that Herschel talked about taking up to taken up to the what's the name, to the Lovers Point essentially.
Yeah, it called her a hooker, I believe.
Yeah, that's her. It's the same
Yeah.
lady. She don't mind showing herself off. That's what he said. And I wasn't stopping her. I didn't do anything wrong, but I didn't stop her. That's what he said. But man, this guy, yeah, you're right. He does like a killer.
Yeah, he just gave me vibes that I'm a killer, and I've seen him in other films before. I just don't remember him. But yeah, he just gave me that vibe. Like I'm going to end up being the killer later on. And that whole reason he set up Sam was just stupid. It usually
Yeah.
is stupid when you get to the end of these mysteries. But this definitely played off like one of those murder mystery novels, and knowing the fact that it was based on a book, it makes a whole lot of sense. I felt it was a good mystery, especially for its time. It is definitely a product of its time. The
Mhm.
60s, it felt so racially motivated, and if you grew up in that era, man, it was that bad. I've heard stories. Like I said, my uncle, he told me all kinds of stuff that happened back then, and that I had no clue about. And I was just like a kid, like 9, 10 years old. But
Yeah.
I always ask questions, and to learn more back, how people were treated back then. And I've always, me and him always butted heads on it. But I ain't gonna go into all that. But I
Well, I
just,
appreciate you butting heads with him. I appreciate you.
well, we did. I was probably the only nephew that really did butt heads with him on that. I can't say it for sure, but I would. It was, I don't know, it was important to me that everyone be treated equal. I don't know why. That was my mindset even when I was little.
That's why I love you. That's why I love you. But yeah, man. I did want to mention with Sydney. Sydney was the precursor to Denzel. He died last year. He died I think June or July of last year. And so he lived to be very old. But he was the guy, man. He was such a phenomenal actor. And you got to see Harry Belafonte in White Man's Burden with John Travolta.
Yeah.
He was another one that's kind of like on that level of Sydney, but not on that level, but within that time frame of Sydney. But Sydney was like the dude, you know what I mean? Like he was a serious actor. He was an actor. When you think of Denzel, you think that he's an actor,
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
I also I have to say Morgan Freeman too. Of the old generations. Like there's not a lot of people from this era. I feel like people want Michael B. Jordan to be that dude, but I don't think he is that dude.
I say Jonathan Majors may be that guy.
I think he's that dude.
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors, I definitely think is that dude. I like Michael B. Jordan though. Okay, he impressed me in Just Mercy. He really did. But overall, his whole career that I've seen, I see him more. I don't want to say a Stallone type guy, but I think he's gonna do a lot of action movies. I see him as that kind of guy.
Yeah,
Which I don't think they really. I don't think, other than Wesley Snipes, no one really comes at me that's one of those big African American names in action movies.
yeah.
Other than Wesley.
I would say if Chadwick hadn't passed, he would have been.
Chadwick. Oh yeah, he
He
would have been. Yeah, Denzel was passing the torch to him, no doubt.
Yeah, Chadwick was just a phenomenal actor. But since Chadwick's gone, we don't have him. Man, Jonathan Majors is my pick for. And then Brian Tyree Henry. I think that he's going to go on to do some
he's good too.
phenomenal stuff. But I think that Jonathan Majors is going to be that next upper echelon dude that I hope that his career blows up, honestly. I hope that his career just keeps growing. I hope that all of their careers grow, but I'm so excited for Jonathan Majors, and I think that he's making smart choices with the roads that he chooses. But I do. So we know that this guy got murdered. I want to mention this part right here. A couple of scenes, man. I want to mention before we come to an end. Let's see if I can find her. This woman here. This lady there. So she was the one that does the back alley abortions, essentially. But she is a Bo. I forget her name. Bo something or Bay. She was a B Richards. She was like a legendary black actress in her day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she's not even remembered today. But she was legendary. She was with Sydney in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner as well. She's in that film. I forgot who she plays. I think she plays the I don't know if she's the maid. I'm not sure. I forget who she is in there. If she's the maid, then she's the lady that told, because Sidney Poitier was talking about a young preacher named Dr. King, and this is before Dr. King even died. So
Yeah.
And he was talking about he's trying to make changes. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner is an important film because it came out in '67. It's about a black man that is meeting a white family with their daughter. He's going to be the new husband. So as you people is essentially like a riff on Guess Who, which was a riff on Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. But none of it stands up to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Spencer Tracy's in it. I think Katharine Hepburn's in it. Catherine or Audrey, one of them. I don't know. I don't know the Hepburns, but one of them is in it. But I know Spencer Tracy. I know Spencer Tracy.
Top talent though.
Yeah,
like
the old Hollywood, like
yeah,
your Babylon film, like old Hollywood.
Yeah. Old Hollywood. Yeah.
But they were older at this point. They were like before they died type of film, right?
Yeah.
But and Spencer does a great job playing a father that's trying to understand why his daughter goes off to college and comes back with this black boyfriend who's a doctor. He's not like a thug or anything. He's a doctor, and so he's trying to understand this. But the maid in there talks about. She looks at him like, "Why are you here? Why are you doing this? You're setting us back." And he's like, "No, people like Dr. King is trying to make a movie." He says, "No, people like Dr. King is getting us hurt more." And so it just shows you the mindset of some of the older blacks back then was don't buck the system because you're gonna mess around and get us hurt. And that mindset still prevails today in some senses. But yeah, I thought that I was glad to see her in this film. I wanted to get your thoughts on this scene right here.
When he talked him out of leaving and coming back.
Yeah.
I thought Rod was very manipulative here.
He really was.
He knew the buttons he could push to get him to come back, and it was a great scene on both parties. Very entertaining scene. I understand why he won Academy Award for this role. Like, he was really good in this movie, and he's excellent in that scene. They both are. I am a little shocked that Sydney didn't get nominated, but as far as that scene goes, I just thought he was very manipulative and just got him to come back with him because he thought that he couldn't let go of not solving a murder. That's not you. You gotta your ego, essentially couldn't let that slide. So
but then you gotta rub it in these white folks' faces. You want to do that.
Yeah.
To show off your big brain and but he poked him into staying to do it. It kind of juxtaposes to this scene here where he's shaking his hand and acknowledging him as a man, acknowledging him as a detective, and as an equal. And isn't that just like so? if you really think about it, I can understand why Rod Steiger. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but I understand why he got the nomination and win for the Oscars, because his character has changed from the very beginning that we meet him to that point where he's shaking his hand. Like, there's no way in the beginning he was shook his hand,
No.
But at the end, he looks him in the eye, shakes his hand, and tells him, "Be careful." And it's like he really means it. Be careful,
Yeah. A lot of growth, a lot of change. Yeah, at the end, I think at the beginning he saw him as, like they said, they called him boy. He saw him as boy. But at the end of the movie, he saw him as a man, his own equal, which I think is the point of the whole film, is treat each other as equals. Mm-hmm. That's what I get out of it. Well, that's what I get out of most of all these racially charged films. At the end of the day, we should treat each other as our equals. That's how it should be. I'm gonna stick with that because that's how I feel.
I agree, man. But yeah, let's go ahead and give our marks. Anything else you want to say before we do that?
I don't know if you know this, but he actually made 2 more films playing Tibbs.
Yeah, they call me Mr. Tibbs, and I haven't seen them yet.
I can't think of the other one. I looked him. I was on Letterboxd last night. I just graded my score on it, and I saw that related films. They call me Mr. Tibbs, and I don't know what the other one, The Outpost or the something. I was like, oh, I had no idea he did 2 more films.
Sydney also. So this is his. I would say this is, if not his most famous film, one of his most famous films. In the Heat of the Night, he did Lilies in the Field. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? The Defiant Ones, and he did some more things. But also in the 70s, he showed a little more of a comedic side with Bill Cosby in A Piece of the Action, and then its sequel, Let's Do It Again. And so he got to play like a different type of against his stoic type of persona.
Yeah.
And played more of a like a hustle man with Bill Cosby. And those were some really good movies too, man. I've never seen Piece of the Action, but I did see Let's Do It Again. I was like Brandon in that I didn't. I seen the sequel before I seen the original in that, because I think I just had access to Let's Do It Again, and I seen Jimmy Walker in it. J.J. Walker from Good Times, he's in it. Dynamite, he's in it. But yeah, it's like it's a funny little 70s like blaxploitation film, and I'm thankful for his career.
Yeah. We're talking about Bill, though. I have, to my recollection, the only movie I've ever seen him in is Ghost Dad. Like, that's all I can think of.
Leonard Six, I think. Ghost Dad is the most known. That Bill was in.
Well, he makes a cameo in Fat Albert.
Yeah, because he created Fat Albert.
I saw that with one of my ex-girlfriends. It was actually, I think, our first or second date. We saw Fat Albert and the Michael Keaton White Noise movie.
Was that pre-Beth, huh?
Oh yeah, it was very pre-Beth. Very pre-Beth.
But I was just looking up Cosby's filmography real quick. Leonard Part 6, which is one of the worst films ever made, is what people say. I've never seen it. I've never seen it, but they say it's one of the worst films ever made. I Spy. Well, he has a show.
He's in I Spy?
Yeah, in the show.
The show, okay. I went to Eddie.
Let's see. He was in Jack with Robin Williams.
Oh yes, he's the therapist.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah. Well, the doctor. I think he's a therapist. I forgot about that too. Yeah. Okay, so that's another one I've seen.
He's also a Meteor Man. Did you see that
I haven't. Is that Eddie?
with Robert Townsend?
No, I haven't seen
He
it.
gets a meteor rock and becomes like a superhero in the hood. Meteor.
Definitely haven't seen it.
But I like Robert Townsend, but that's one of his more quirkier films. And like you mentioned, Ghost Dad, which is probably my favorite one, honestly. And then the other Leonard films. There's another Leonard movie. I guess I don't know. The Devil and Max, California Suite. He's in that film. Him and Richard Pryor is in that film together, which is a rarity because they were the opposite ends of the spectrum when it came to comedy. Bill was more of a clean comic, which his life, as we know now, wasn't. But
Very
but
unclean. Very.
but and then Richard was a blue comedian. He was very blue, meaning filthy, a dirty
Yeah.
comic. But Richard, I'm a huge Richard Pryor fan. And
I've only seen Harlem Nights when it comes to Richard, though.
I seen Harlem Nights, Stir Crazy. He wrote. He wrote with Mel Brooks. The cowboy film. What was it?
The one we reviewed.
Yeah,
With,
yeah. He wrote that. He wrote parts of that.
I know. We reviewed it, so yeah. I just can't think what it was called.
I can't. It's eluding me right now. But he was in. But Richard, I like Richard, man. One of my favorite Richard Pryor films, and then we can get to our stuff. But one of my favorite Richard Pryor films was it's a movie called or it's JoJo Dancing. My Life is Called JoJo Dancing. It's essentially like a biopic of Richard Pryor, but he calls himself JoJo Dancer, but it's pretty much his life, how he grew up in a whorehouse, essentially, and the things he witnessed and stuff. But then there's another film called Inoperable Condition, I think. Unoperable Condition or Inoperable Condition, where he plays crazy to get out of going to prison, and they take him for evaluation at a hospital, and this hospital is in a storm. And so he's trying to escape. So he dresses up like a doctor, and they think he's a doctor, and they have him treating patients. Bob Saget's in the film, a very young Bob Saget. Wesley Snipes makes a cameo before he's Wesley Snipes. He's just a ambulance driver. But yeah, it's just like it's a good little Richard Pryor film. But yeah, I suggest you. And then there's See No Weaver, Hear No Weaver with him and Gene Wilder, like one of the best films. We're gonna watch more Richard stuff. You never seen Stir Crazy?
I haven't. No.
We will.
Only Harlem Nights.
Oh, we're gonna. I got you, bro.
Because that was Red Fox and Eddie Murphy along with Richard.
Richard, yeah, Robin Harris in that film. You had Arsenio Hall in that film. I think you had I think Charlie Murphy's in it as well somewhere.
I want to say so, yeah.
You got like there's so many actors that's in it. Della Reese, of course, from Touched by an Angel. So yeah, Harlem Nights is like an important film. Have you seen Eddie Murphy in Life, right? You seen Life?
Yeah.
Okay.
I told you like yesterday that was like my favorite Eddie Murphy movie.
Oh, okay. But yeah. You ready to give your marks?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'll let you go first.
All right, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna mirror the letterbox. I give it 4 markouts out of 5. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. There is some moments that doesn't keep your interest, but whenever we have both Sydney and Rod together, I wish I could see more of them together, honestly. But yeah, I give it 4. I loved it. It's a classic, and I think if you haven't watched it, you should at least watch it because it's one of those classic films. Brandon?
I agree. I think it's a 4 out of 5 for me too. I thought you would have been a little higher on it. That's why I said you should go first. But yeah, everything you said is correct. I mean, when they're together, it blossoms. I enjoyed the the detective aspect to it with Sydney's and Tibbs figuring things out, and I mean, he was brilliant in the movie though. He really was. It's a shame he didn't get nominated, but it's how it goes sometimes, especially in that era. But I thought the movie was great though, and I can see why they wanted to turn it into a TV show later on.
Yeah, I agree, man. Let's see. So next week, let me get this off. There we go. And next week, we will. Let me take this off. We're going to be doing a fan request film, Mars Attack. What was the name of the young man?
His name is Nick. He sent us a message on our messenger on the Markout Movie Podcast page. And I didn't get to it at first. It had been a couple hours, and I saw that you didn't read it, so I was like, "Oh, I'll go ahead and answer him." He's like, "Can y'all review a classic film?" I was like, "What do you got in mind? What classic film you want us to review?" And he said, "Mars Attacks." And necessarily myself, I don't view this as a classic film, but someone requests a movie for us. We always said we would do it if they request. So I was like, I'll find out where it's streaming. Asked you because I had no idea. I'm just gonna rent it on Amazon because I don't have that streaming service. But we're gonna deliver Mars Attacks next week.
Yep, Mars
and
Attacks.
It's what's his Tim Burton film, right?
Tim Burton film. Only thing I remember is Michael J. Fox being in the film, and also I think
it has a great cast.
Tom Jones,
Jack Nicholson, Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, I'd be interested to revisit it. I haven't seen it since. Yeah, I say it's been a good 15, 20 years since I've seen it.
I've only seen it once. So
just initially when you watched it then? So
I saw it on Stars when it came on Stars one night, and I was like, Mars Attacks. I'll go with it. It wasn't what I expected. It was entertaining, but I haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
So I kind of don't really remember the plot. I kind of remember it being all over the place. But
the Martians attack. Yes, I guess that's what you get. But yeah,
they did attack.
We're gonna watch that film. And he was gonna choose Sick. So you're gonna.
I was gonna choose Sick just to get prepared for Scream, Kevin Williamson and all. But I'll pick that after Scream. So
okay. So I'll wait to watch Sick. I won't watch Sick until after Scream. But this weekend, if I can, I plan on seeing Infinity Pool. Yeah, that's the only one I think that came out. So I seen Jeremy John. Well, this isn't for the podcast. Well, Brandon, what would you like for people to do?
We would like for you to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this week's episode. How about that?
Yeah, if you did. And then also follow our buddy Nick. If you have something that you want us to watch, let us know. You can comment on Facebook, YouTube, or Brandon has a TikTok. I have a TikTok. I have an Instagram. Brandon probably does not.
I have it. I just don't have it.
You don't access it. But yeah, you can.
I deleted it. But...
Reach out to us on our social medias, and make a suggestion on Markout Movie Podcast Facebook page. You can message us and say, "Hey, would you review this?" Now I'll tell you, we're going to do Scream, but after that, we should be open back up to other stuff. I think. But yeah,
we don't have to do the Fridays until July, I think.
Yeah,
to fit it in before Halloween.
Yeah.
I figured you wouldn't want to be doing Friday 13th during Halloween, so.
No, probably not. But yeah. In the meantime, in between time, Aaron Whitlow.
I'm Brandon Spivey, and thank you for marking out with us.
You guys' name for 2 seconds. We thank you for marking out. Have a great weekend. Be safe and love one another. Peace.